for different temperatures. When at room temperature, Coca-Cola tastes very similar to cold Pepsi.
I did hear that one time. I don't want to test it because I don't want to drink. Is it room temperature Coca-Cola?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't want to do that at all. It sounds icky.
And I'm Coca-Cola. Welcome to Cameron. Use the hashtag Geeks Corner to talk at us this evening on Twitter.
And tonight we are joined by our good friend Doug, who is going to bring us again to a blast from the past. Is that a good way to say it? But before we get into the past, we're going to get into the present because today was a present in terms of news.
I don't know that
there was so much going on with the Disney community today.
There's a lot going on with that last sentence.
I know. You never know what's going to come out at 9:30 at night. This morning at, what time was it? I don't remember. Probably like 9 this morning. It seemed like the Twitterverse in social media world of Disney exploded as Bob announced that he was no longer the CEO and that Bob would be replacing him as of today, and that would be Bob Iger and Bob Chapek. Mm-hmm. Was that better?
Sure.
Yeah. And I immediately started making jokes in my head of Cutthroat Kitchen, because you know how Alton Brown always is like, bring in the Bobs? Mm. And now they've got the two Bobs running the Walt Disney Company. So I was amused, and then other Bobs came up throughout the day, and it was just one of those random things. So there's new leadership at Disney. Let's just go down the line. What do you think of the new CEO of the Walt Disney Company? Very quickly, Cameron, go first because you're smiling at me.
That's a dangerous thing.
I know. Keep it short.
Robert Chapek has an interesting track record with the company as far as decisions go, some of which I don't necessarily like. However, I think that he has an opportunity in this higher level of leadership to facilitate some of his better qualities in some of his underlings. He was tenacious at the very least, and tenacity in other people a little bit better directed might be a benefit to the company as a whole. So if they attempt to emulate their leader and have slightly different perspectives on what's a benefit to the parks, it might actually be beneficial overall.
Cool. What do you think of Bob Iger?
Bob Iger is a legend, and I don't know how they're going to follow him.
Okay, cool. Katie?
Bob Iger, great man. Good old Bobby Iges. Gonna miss him.
When he leaves in 2 years.
Yeah, it's okay.
I can still hear him.
I do find it funny
Pour
that
one out for
everybody's
Bob
like,
Iger.
Bob Iger's gone. And I'm like, he's not going anywhere. He's got till the end of 221, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
He's done, and sorry to interrupt the flow, but he's kind of become Caesar. I mean, in the position he's, because like,
Kaiser.
Thank you so much. That was Fallout-y referencing. Because now he's in a position where things are going to happen that he would normally have direct inspirational control over, and he gets to sit in the back and go,
All right, Katie, continue.
Anyway, I think that it'll be interesting to see if Bob Chapek flourishes in a non-creative role in the company. I think that he is good at making business decisions, such as not putting out a Baby Yoda toy right in November. He actually did wait a couple months, which was for the benefit of the Walt Disney Company, and they're still selling a crap ton of Baby Yoda toys. So I think that it will be very interesting to see what type of business decisions he makes in a non-creative environment.
which I think means he was willing to listen.
How about you, Doug? What do you think?
Well, I've always liked Bob Iger. I know there are some people who feel he's like too much of an executive. Mm-hmm. I've actually interviewed him a couple of times on like red carpets and at events and things. And one thing that I liked about him, he always seemed very bemused by Disney.
Agree.
By Disney based internet site type things.
Our world.
And very often when we were way down there on the red carpet, way down the food chain, and Bob Iger and the executives would be strolling past with, that's like that bubble that travels with them. He would suddenly look over and he'd see me and he'd go, you, and he'd sail over to me and say, how are things going? And we'd get, a couple of quick questions back and forth.
Now, what is the internet?
Explain to me
What is this thing?
It's a series of tubes.
Something to which we would like to go.com. And
How do I log?
Yes, thank you. And as far as Bob Chapek goes, well, I'm totally hacked because I've had a resume heated up, waiting in my laptop for years for the day that Bob Iger stepped down. And before I could even get the thing printed out, I find out it's all for naught. So that's all there is to that.
So you're just disappointed it wasn't you. I'm going to follow along with what everybody else is saying. I think Bob Iger has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you, sir.
I feel like we're a real talk show right now.
It is. That's what the goal is.
I love
I mean,
this.
this would be the hard pitch for buying Bobby Iger's book at the moment.
This
Yes.
would be the pitch. This actually was
All
one
we
of the
need
The
is-
book is
most-
called
all we
A
need
Ride
is-
of a Lifetime.
All we
by
need is
Bobby
Zsa
Iger.
Zsa Gabor
Yes.
back in the green room
Yeah.
stealing the craft table. There
Yeah.
we go.
But this was one of the best books I read last year. And the thing that really impressed me, because I've always been a huge Bob Iger fan, for at least for the last probably 10 years once we figured him out, is he is a man that's decisive, he's an excellent leader, and he's always looking at the big picture of things. And so where I think quite often in the parks or whatever, we may not know everything that's happening, what we've come to learn from him and observe from him and then just hear from people who know him is he's full of heart. He cares about everybody that works for him. And I was just thinking of the Legends ceremony. Were you at the Legends ceremony for D23 Expo this year? And you just heard story after story of these personal experiences each new legend had when Bob Iger called because something happened or they were going through a rough time. And you just heard all of these extra mile things that Bob Iger has done. And to me, the legacy of Bob Iger is really going to be manifest in how Bob Chapek does his job, because he's a product of Bob Iger's leadership. And so we're going to find out really a lot about Bob Iger's legacy through what Bob Chapek does. And it actually gives me hope, because in this book, he talks about some different experiences that he had through the years. One of them being on the night before Shanghai Disneyland opens. That's when that terrible crocodile incident happened in Florida. And the person he turned to when that happened was Bob Chapek. And he says, Bob, I don't know. They're not saying I don't know what to do, but he's like, this is what we have to do. We need to get this fixed. And Bob Chapek hopped on a plane, flew back to Florida, and he was the person on the ground taking care of everything in that moment of crisis. And to me, who you turn to during a crisis says a lot about the people that you trust and the people that you've surrounded yourself with, which is where I probably am in the minority in the Twitterverse today of going, you know what, I have some cause for hope for the future of this, where I'm seeing a lot of non-hope today, because Bob Iger's a smart guy. I think he's smarter than any of us. I mean, we could probably agree.
He's richer than any of
And
us.
he's richer than any of us.
I can say
But-
that.
Correlation is not causation, but it's
That is
definitely a good
true.
indicator.
But I do have to wonder, I think most of the stuff he's done with the Walt Disney Company, I've really thought in hindsight has been good moves for the company, whether it's buying Lucasfilm, Marvel, Pixar, investing in technology, changing how we experience theme parks. For the most part, I think he's done a fantastic job. And so I have to think, with all of those good decisions he's made, we're going to at some point be like, oh, you know what? Bob Chapek was a good decision too. Or maybe 3 years from down the line, when his contract is up for the first time, we'll be like, oh, there's a new CEO at Disney. Who knows? I'm not going to make any predictions, but I do have trust in Bob Iger, which gives me reasons to hope for good things with Bob
I
Chapek.
believe in Harvey Dent. That's what
Yeah.
he's saying.
Very that.
Anyway,
Anyway,
any other thoughts on this before we move on to the fun stuff?
We have resumes.
Let's see your resume.
Oh,
Yeah.
for our applications for CEO?
You wanted to still try this,
you
huh?
brought them
we
along
we
too.
prepared some
Yes.
resumes as well.
Yes.
Ladies first.
Please.
Cool. So this is my resume. So there are storm clouds, which are the bad things that happen. But there is a sun, and he's happy because he's wearing sunglasses. So I think that as CEO, I would be the happy sun, not the rain clouds. And see, there's flowers growing, which means that they're happy.
Real quick. The sunglasses on the sun.
Yeah.
There are no frames or connectors on that. That sun is from the Coraline universe. That is not.
No, he's cool. He's so
Art used to
cool.
play in an old late
He
night
has-
band.
Like scaly, like contacts in. The sun has seen some things.
But he's smiling, so he's happy. So yeah,
Okay.
anyway.
Vote for
thank
Katie.
you. This has been my book report on CEO.
and being CEO.
Thank you.
I believe everything is in order. You can start my 6 to 7 figure salary at any time.
You want me to open it? Is that
Of
what you're
course.
saying? I don't even know how you folded the darn thing.
I think it's one of the things. It's going to tell you whether or
Which-
not he likes you.
Which
after
is
you're
his first
done.
bid
Yeah,
for
I'm sure that's what
CEO.
it is.
Is
Upside
how
down.
nicely.
Resume, no thank you, Cameron.
Yep.
I think you're a very wise man.
See, I was just going to write one that said, "Will CEO for food."
But which one of you is going to put soda in the drinking fountains? That's what I vote for. Okay, go.
That's why the son is wearing sunglasses, because he drinks soda and he's so cool.
Mm.
He doesn't drink water.
You know, in 1955, there was a soda workers' strike, and they had to choose between soda fountains and soda restrooms. And I think they made the wise decision of allowing root beer urinals.
I heard that women's high heel shoes were sinking into
Into
the
the soda, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
into the soda.
Oh, I thought that was the ice cream in the
If
photo.
only they'd used fizzy lifting drinks, it would have solved all the problems.
Of course, they would have had to scrub the whole thing down when they were done. We have now crossed. No.
All right.
Nothing. You were losing.
One day
Good
Disney.
data.
One day Disney will own that.
Yeah.
It's very possible.
Oh yes.
All right, so now moving on from the past that never was to the past that actually did happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
30 years ago,
30 years ago,
which still,
part 2.
part 2,
Yes.
you talked about the second part of your day. For
Yes.
your first day,
It was such a long day.
it was a long day. It reminds me of The Jerk, though. Do you know
Oh.
the part I'm talking about where he's like, the first day was like 4 days and the second day was like 2 days, but the third day it was like 1 day.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm getting it exactly.
No,
but that
you've
was-
referenced Jean Leguizamo on the show, so it's good. That's
There you
important.
go.
We have to check that box every time.
Okay, good.
There's a hidden Jean Leguizamo reference in every single episode. so
That's
you
our
can find
Easter
it.
egg.
Oh, now you get to go back and watch them all
Yeah.
again.
So
Baby
30
start.
years ago,
Yes, 30 years ago,
Disneyland.
Disneyland, and all these cameo appearances by celebrities.
Uh-huh.
And you know what's funny to me as I think about it? I've been very fortunate over the years to have gotten to meet a lot of interesting people and interview a lot of people. That was like the first time that I went there that there were a lot of celebrities in the park, and I actually ended up getting up close and personal with several of them. Not the least being the most amazing one. We were talking about this just
Right.
before it went on. Fess Parker standing out in the middle of Main Street, USA, and nobody's there. I mean, he's just standing. There's one cameraman and somebody that had a little reflector, and there was, now you spotted this in one of the pictures,
Yeah.
was a little clutch of like 6 people over to one side, and I think half of them were actually Daniel Boone fans, and you have to be a lot older to know what I'm talking about with that, because he was Davy Crockett for Disney, and then he was Daniel Boone
Didn't
a
they
lot
have-
longer.
Didn't they have a Disney Treasures set with that or something like 10, 15 years ago?
I don't know about,
I can't remember. I have it somewhere, but
Yeah.
anyway, it just popped in my head.
but there, you know, there he was, standing there, and apparently, I don't know, maybe people didn't recognize him without the
I
coonskin
was going to say,
cap.
was he not wearing several dead animals at the time?
There you go.
No, he
not
was-
not a one. He was wearing a tan sports jacket.
Mm.
You've seen the pictures. I hope you've seen the picture. I hope
If
you've
you
read the
haven't,
blog.
go to dapsmagic.com. It's there right now.
This
Yes.
was
But
just
go
after
af-
everything was
go
in
after
black and
the
white.
show.
So.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, there you are. And then, of course, did see Alan Young, a very, very, very young
Did he do the voice?
Bill Farmer. Did Alan Young do what now?
Scrooge.
Scrooge McDuck. Yes, he was the voice of
But
Scrooge
did you
McDuck.
hear him do the voice while you were there?
Yeah, he was.
I was
he
just
was.
curious if it was one of those.
I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. Some years ago, I had Tim O'Day come to a club that I am with, and I was able to lure him to the club by asking him, because invariably when you call him, he'll say, "I've talked about everything. There's nothing more to talk about." And I said, "Oh, come on, Tim. This would have been in. Well, you'll be able to figure it out in a minute here." I said, "Here's the theme. Here's the topic I want you to talk about. The 25th anniversary of Disneyland's 35th anniversary."
Wow.
Yeah, and he laughed, and he says, "Okay." He says, "That's a good one." But also, I know for a fact he's very proud of the 35th anniversary because it was a huge, huge thing, and I believe it was the first time that they allowed the Disney character voices to do radio appearances. They didn't want their faces to be seen, but their voices to appear. So you could
Oh,
literally
interesting.
interview Mickey Mouse. You could interview Jiminy Cricket. You could interview Scrooge McDuck.
Oh, that's cool.
And then I believe the actors were allowed to speak as themselves as well. But I do know that
This is the beginning of the character trust era. This is like right at the kind of midpoint of Henson-ish. I mean, there was a turning point where they started allowing character actors to own the character rather than being a subsidiary representation, like just a pool of it, which they've moved away from again. They don't typically allow, but this was kind of the beginning of it, and then there was like a 10 to 15 year period where the actor was allowed to be the character.
Right.
And it was really cool.
And what was cool about it is that they had a group of actors who really were very invested in their characters. My all-time favorite quip from Wayne Allwine ad-libbing was every now and then you would get, if the publicist was not really ready there to pounce, you'd get some smart aleck DJ who would decide,
Sure.
oh, I'm going to ask a question that's going to be really embarrassing. And so one of them got to talking about Mickey and Minnie and the fact that they'd never married. And so Wayne, of course, is like, well, you know, we're good friends and all this. And finally, the guy says to him just flat out, he says, oh, come on. You and Minnie have been living in sin all these years. And he says, oh, gosh, no. We live in Duckburg.
Yeah.
Yes. Good for you, Wayne.
Well played. Well
Yes,
played.
yes.
Well, you have some pictures.
Oh, I have some pictures, but these aren't from 30 years ago. These
That's
are from
okay.
these are from this actually the first one is from 2 days ago. The others are from 30 days ago. 2 days ago. You know, I don't know why, but I was thinking of synergy and Disney and other things, and so I ended up at Universal Studios Hollywood.
The land of synergy.
That lines.
Well, technically,
Disney's
this is a
next
Disney
acquisition.
character.
Yes.
Right.
Future acquisition.
Right. But and they already got one whole part of the park ready for them because, as you know, there's an enormous, very immersively themed Springfield area, which is all about The Simpsons. For the first time ever, I actually ate upstairs. Have you ever eaten upstairs above the restaurants?
No.
It's unbelievable. It is, if you are a fan of The Simpsons, which I am not, actually. If you're a fan of The Simpsons, prepare to spend the rest of your day at Universal Studios
Really?
Hollywood, because they have a series of rooms that are themed to various characters, including a Krusty the Clown room that has all this
terrifying.
memorabilia. It is, yes, the amount of memorabilia. And
So
outside, they had Krusty the Clown. And you notice that last month, I brought some photos along. Hope all of you enjoyed looking at the photos, which no one could see. So this month I made them bigger. And there I am with Krusty the Clown. I couldn't resist because, and now we're going to go back 30 years, but still not to Disneyland. Because 30 years ago, actually the summer of 1989, I got to meet one of my personal childhood heroes.
I was 6 months old.
From, oh, well, good. I'm glad to know you were at least alive
How old were you?
in the summer of 89.
My sister was not a year old yet.
Your older sister.
Yes. She was born in December '88.
Well, when I was a kid growing up in Portland, Oregon, I didn't know that Matt Groening, who would become, you know, the father of The Simpsons, was also growing up in Portland, Oregon. And we were watching TV, and there was a local kiddie show host named Rusty Nails. Rusty was a clown. He was Rusty the Clown. And in the summer of '89, at the Ramblin' Rod reunion, Ramblin' Rod, another children's show host,
That's where I knew it from.
Ramblin' Rod.
Yes.
Okay, and Heck Harper and
Okay.
Mr. Duffy
It all
and
connects now.
Addie Bobkins were there. Now, if you're in Portland, you're going into ecstasies and synapses
Yeah.
are snapping. But
Okay.
anyway, in '89, I got a picture with Rusty Nails, Rusty the Clown. So this is Rusty Nails in Portland, Oregon, 1989, and this
There is a
is
similarity.
Krusty the Clown at Universal Studios just 2 days ago.
I can't.
Yes,
Like,
there
clowns
you go.
don't normally weird me out, but
Oh,
man.
yeah, well, you know, the only thing that really, if he'd had a giant bow tie, because that's what I always remembered most about Rusty. I think the reason I remember Rusty Nails' bow tie so vividly is that's probably what I always fixed my
Yeah,
gaze
you're
on.
like, I'm not
when
looking
he was
directly
anywhere
at
near. But now, to bring it all back home to Disney, because everything always comes
Absolutely.
back to Disney. At that same reunion,
That was
there
Bob
were
Iger's method.
right, there were
Everything comes
other
back to Disney.
other children's show hosts from Portland's past, and for some reason I had my photo taken with this guy. I didn't know who he was. I don't remember him from any time that I was living in Portland.
Wait, is that not Cameron?
Years,
Future!
future Cameron,
Future!
future Cameron.
Y'all, I grew up with people that looks like that. That's about right.
Just a matter of time.
You should get those glasses.
Yes, I was showing these pictures to an enormous, even geekier Disney fan than anyone who was here, Disneyland fan,
Yeah.
and he pulls this picture out and says, oh, "You met Dallas McKinnon." And I said, "Okay, I met." And then I said, "Wait a minute, Dal McKinnon?" He said, "Yes." I said, "This is Dal McKinnon." Dallas McKinnon, best known among Disney land fans, I'm sure, as the voice you hear just before you depart for your trip through Big Thunder Mountain. And hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
I
Yes.
love people that look like what they sound
yeah,
like.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what he
Dead
said.
on.
I love
Perfect.
Yes. He was also Cincinnatus on Daniel Boone, so there's your tie-in to
The first picture.
Fess Parker,
Yeah.
right? And then he also did several. He was Zeke in the Country Bears on Country Bear Jamboree, and he was the full voice of the narrator Prospector in the Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland attraction. And he did a number of films. He was Laughing Hyenas, and so Dal McKinnon. And boy, I wish I'd known back in 1989 who it was that I was meeting at the time, that it was Dal McKinnon. But I'm very happy I got a picture with him. Anyway.
That is, where is that at?
This was at the Oaks Amusement Park in Portland, Oregon.
Okay, yep, I remember that.
And the Oaks is still there.
Yeah,
God bless us, everyone. It's still there.
that's amazing. That's weird how worlds collide
Mm-hmm.
through the years. Every time I'm like, oh yeah, we're all from Portland. Well, we're from Portland originally, and
I'm tertiarily connected. I know Eugene. That's-
right, you've been up there, but there's these things that he'll say, and I'll be like, I haven't thought about that in forever. And then like the Oaks tonight, I was just like, oh yeah, I totally forgot.
I mentioned the Organ Grinder Pizza
the
Parlor.
organ grinder. I love the organ grinder. That was so good.
Wait, can I try one?
Yeah,
McMinimans?
yeah.
That's like a lot later than.
I did one.
Yeah.
We'll give you points. So give us a teaser. Where are we going next? 30 years ago.
Next, well, it'll be March, and so in March it is when I acquired my first annual pass.
Oh, that's
so we're going to talk a
perfect.
little bit on annual passes, and we're also going to talk about the fact that the 30th anniversary was had one thing that set it apart from all the other. You know, every 5 years they would try to come up with something to promote.
Right.
Do you realize that in 1990 they did not open a single major attraction?
But they brought a car up through the middle of a
They
stage.
they brought a car up there.
That's
but,
like an attraction.
yeah. but
Only if you get to
yeah,
ride the car.
But
Sitting on the hood making the noises.
Well, if they
Did
had
I-
known
did
Star Wars by then, Darth Vader probably would have driven it.
It's true.
did I say this in last month on the broadcast about I found out the secret behind getting
Yeah,
the
you
car?
did.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I said,
Mickey
when
Mouse
Mickey
standing on-
shows up, then you walk up with your ticket.
Thanks for telling us.
Thanks
30
for telling
years
us
later.
30 years later.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, but
I'm just gonna go up to Mickey Mouse on Main Street. Where's
Now-
the cars, bro?
but I will talk about the attraction that had just opened, which was Splash Mountain. And Splash Mountain, an infamous, it almost ended up opening for the 30th because it was delayed and delayed and delayed. In fact, I have a series of those little park brochures they give
Yeah.
out that says things like Splash Mountain opening April, Splash Mountain opening spring, Splash Mountain opening summer,
Oh, no.
Splash Mountain opening soon. Yes.
We hope.
Yes. Splash Mountain, it'll open, really, folks.
We promise.
We promise.
I think it was either 89 or 90, and I know it was an early promotion for Splash Mountain, but they had a sing-along video they made
Oh yeah.
where there
I've
was
seen that.
a rap about Splash Mountain,
It's always a thrill.
but it was an early, like late 80s, early 90s rap
Yep.
about.
Mhm.
That is
Splash
ingrained into my
Mountain.
soul. It's bad. It's real bad.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe we heard certain voices that we've recently seen pictures from on there as well. I'm just put that connection together.
Yeah.
It's
That is
possible.
very possible.
I wonder if he rapped.
possible.
And Splash Mountain is a big part of DAPS Magic history.
I don't know if Doug knows about this. Maybe you should explain it.
So one
This
day,
this is amazing.
one fateful day it is.
One day
One
Disney.
day
This
at
was
Disney.
oh goodness, it was 4 or 5 years ago now. We decided back when there was a little bit of an off season that we were going to go
About
on,
nowish.
yeah, around nowish. we would go on the least busy day we possibly could, and see on the worst weather we possibly could to see how many times we could go on Splash Mountain.
Because nobody would be there.
Because no one's there. So I think the park was open from like 10 to 8. It was really like short hours for the day. We managed 27 times in one day. It was, I think, 47 degrees by the time we ended.
And the rules were that we could not stay on.
Right, so this
even if
wasn't
the
laps.
cast members offered us, we had to get off and take a photo of our photo to prove
that we did the lap.
because this was before MaxPass, before we could get those things downloaded for free. So we had to take a photo to prove that we had done that loop. And we lost our minds by the end of it.
Yeah, it was
This was
a lot.
January 27th, 2016, so 4 years.
Because you were there
Wow.
too!
27
I texted
2016.
Cameron on January 27th saying, "Happy anniversary."
Oh,
And were you like
gracious.
soaked down to your socks?
Oh, it was bad. Yeah, it was. We planned ahead a bit. Like
Yeah.
we wore appropriate clothing and accoutrement for
Yeah.
it.
I
think-
was unfortunately really busy that day.
Oh no!
yeah. Well,
And
so
I got the best text messages throughout the day.
So you were having mental breakdowns.
it was bad. So
Different people with different breakdowns. It was great.
the awards go to. I did the whole thing.
Yep.
Friend of the show, Steven, did the whole thing. I think you did 21 or 22
I did
of them.
21,
Yeah.
but people still had no idea who I was.
That was a running bit. We'd go back into the line and be like, well, you're the two guys that are doing Splash Mountain all day, right? Go
And
ahead.
who are you?
Who's this one?
I was like,
I've been here
all
9
day.
times.
And who is the little drowned rat that was with you?
I fully
Yes, yes.
looked like a little drowned rat.
Aw.
Even when Haley and Tyler joined us later in the day, and Cameron's wife Laura joined us, they were
Did
like,
you say-
"Oh, look at these people!"
Did you say Helen Keller joined you later in the day?
Yes.
We took the portrait from Mr. Lincoln.
Oh, okay.
No one ever sees that.
Well, now have you ever walked off of Splash Mountain?
No.
No, I don't have.
I've
I've
always
never had the
hoped to.
opportunity.
I actually got to once, and I have a photo of myself with Brer Rabbit sitting on the pile
Wow.
of cushions, and I'm
At the
like,
end, yeah.
like photobombing Brer Rabbit.
Wow.
I'll bring the photo for you, and I'll show it to
Definitely
you.
need
That's
to.
awesome.
Yeah, and then also my favorite trip that I ever took through Splash Mountain is one time we decided we were going to find every single hidden camera. Some of them are really obvious if you
Yes.
simply sit facing backwards
Right,
the
'cause
whole
Oh,
way.
yeah, totally.
Especially you see that little red circle.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what we did is as we went through, looking backwards the whole time, every time we saw one, we would say, oh, there it is, there it is, there it is, there it is, there it is. And so when we came around the corner for the very end, up above you, there's the big glass windows and the guys are up in the booth. And as our boat came into the dock, the windows flew open and 2 guys leaned out and went, there it is, there it is.
Oh, I love that.
Love it.
That was nice of them.
That is very cool. So we'll look forward to that. Give us just a, since we don't really have a February one, what happened at Disneyland? Do you remember anything you did in February of
In February,
Where were you in February of 1989?
1990. I recovered from January 11th.
right?
No, I do seem to recall that I did make at least 2 or 3 trips down to the park, and it was I'm going to say it was unseasonably cold, and that was also when I started to become slightly. And you know how you guys got slightly crazed by too much Splash Mountain.
Yes.
Before that summer was out, I was slightly crazed by way too Party Gras
There's
music.
no way to get to.
There's
Yeah,
no.
there is,
oh,
but-
oh man, I should bring. I've got both the short version and the long version of the Party Gras parade music on my laptop, and I
Wow.
could bring it along, and we should just have it gently underplaying through the
Oh, I would
entire.
love that.
I think that'd be hilarious.
We need a score.
And what an appropriate day to reference it. Happy Fat Tuesday, everyone.
Yeah.
Oh
there
yes.
you go. It's
Of
all
course.
connected.
Oh, I should have brought along beads and coins, but instead I brought along Dal McKinnon and Krusty the
Clowns.
Clown. Yes.
This is a true story for Fat Tuesday. Today I wore a bead tie with purple, green, and gold, the colors of Mardi Gras on it, with my suit.
Why is it not here tonight? That
Because I
would've
didn't
been
want to wear the
amazing.
suit anymore. But
Okay.
I wore it, and I got to the end of the day where I had a meeting with a couple of my superiors at work, and one of them finally offhandedly mentioned my tie. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's Fat Tuesday. I'm wearing the tie, Mardi Gras colors. They're like, oh, okay, that's why. And I'm like, you didn't
They
question
don't
up
know,
to
huh?
that point? Well, they didn't question up to that point. They're like, oh no, we just assumed it was a you thing. That you just were doing.
I actually wouldn't
Yeah,
question it either.
Honestly, it's a
I
compliment.
was like, yeah, I
What?
kind of think I could see. So, Doug, if they want to find you on social media, where should they go?
You can find me on Twitter at CallDougMarsh, And you can find me on Facebook, but I won't find you because I'm not on Facebook that often.
You're never on Facebook.
But yeah, it's true. It's terrible. Every now and then I look and say, oh, 322 notifications on Facebook.
Whoops.
I probably need
So
to start
go to
looking at
Twitter.
those. So go. You'll find me at Twitter. I just recently realized I do have an Instagram account.
You do.
So I'm going to start
I
putting.
actually follow you, and was it one picture, two pictures, something like that?
And 2 of those were of me getting a haircut. So there you go.
That's exciting.
But well, you know, I liked it. It was for my
Yeah.
birthday 2 years ago.
Yeah, there you
well,
go.
that's what
But,
Instagram's about. It's about stuff you like.
That's right. It was my
That's
haircut.
absolutely true.
My
So
haircut.
follow him on Twitter
Twitter
and Instagram.
at call Doug Marsh.
And I assume we'll attach it to this
Oh,
episode
Doug
as well.
Marsh.
Yes.
Yep, and we've
Cool.
actually tweeted a couple times throughout the episode, I believe, and hashtag.
Hashtag
For your-
30 DLand 30.
Okay, I was like, I hope it's DLand 30. 'cause
It's
otherwise I've
DLand
been
30.
messing it up.
Hashtag DLand 30.
All right, Cameron, get us out of here.
You should go to thegeekscorner.com if you're not there watching the show right now. If you're not, weird. But anyway, thegeekscorner.com. That's the place that we do this show that you're watching right now, but also all the other ones in the past and stuff.
You should go to DAPSMagic.com, check out all the Disney and geek news as it happens, subscribe to our mailing list, and find our Patreon.
And subscribe to this YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our future coverage, including Magic Happens later this week. You'll want to make sure and check that out. We'll have some good videos of that up as soon as we possibly can. But we hope you have a fantastic week. That's all the time we have for tonight, and we will see you around the corner.
Bye.